Now I gotta take it off. I gotta.
That's got a footprint on it.
It's a white footprint. It's like Elton John did it. Oops.
Go ahead and do a microphone check too.
Microphone check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Getting ready for the Virginia Tech football press conference. Check 1, 2. Maybe some slight feedback right there. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sounds good. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As Amanda gets her white balance. I'll leave this up here. We're going to talk a little bit more one more time about Virginia Tech football in the 2016 season. Brian Wall is doing the audio. Is Brian Wall here? Oh, there he is, hiding behind the camera. Brian Wall here. Okay.
little weight. And I want to thank Ben Hilgart and his staff. I think we're really lucky. We've been blessed to have a fantastic strength and conditioning coordinator. You know, or many coaches in this profession know how important that position is. In the summertime, you essentially turn your football team over to the strength staff, and I could not be more happy or more pleased with the progress that our kids have made through his leadership. So I want to make special mention of that. Obviously, we're going to get this thing kick-started here in a couple days. I think our kids are anxious to get out there and practice football and not just run back and forth across the field or just bench press or do all those sorts of things. That's kind of the neat part about football, is when you get tired of doing one thing, you get to go do something else. So, you know, we'll get this thing rocking and rolling here shortly and see what happens. So, that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Justin, how quickly will you be able to assess when you get back on the field how much, besides the weight training and stuff they've done, studying and stuff, and are more up to speed than they were when you left in the spring?
Well, I think we'll get a feel for the retention level pretty quickly. I mean, we'll pour it on them pretty quick in camp. You know, spring's fun and fall's ball, so it's time to get ready to play. So, you know, our installation will move quicker in really all phases of the game, special teams wise, offensively. You know, I think we'll be able to figure that out where they're at pretty quickly. Obviously, there'll be different levels for everybody, but I'm cautiously optimistic that the guys that took reps in the spring, and maybe even a couple of the older guys that didn't play as much in the spring, will be up to speed pretty quickly.
Justin, not that it's a distraction going into camp or anything like that, but how long can you go with sort of an undetermined top of the depth chart at quarterback? Two questions.
Like, what's the record for how long we can go?
No, like, how long can you go without it becoming somewhat of a distraction, obviously knowing that we play a role in that?
Well, I don't know. I've never thought about that in that way, you know, like about how long we can go without it being a distraction. I just don't see it that way. I see it as two guys out there competing for the job, and when we have one, we'll act on that. You know, a lot of coaches are, you know, every year is different. Some years you've got your established starter and you just roll out there and go, and then you're worried about what happens if he goes down. You know, this year we've got two guys that have at least some collegiate experience that are competing for their job, and at some times have played well. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, but I just don't feel an imminent rush to judgment because of any external factors. You know, I just don't think that's the situation we're in.
Okay, so then internally in your mind, is there a time when you would like to make that decision? Could it ostensibly go until like the last week of the season, or is there kind of a date you have in mind where you'd like to fish and cut bait? Yeah, no, I don't have a date in mind. You know, we'll just kind of see how it goes. You know, and again, I know I'm really not trying to hide anything for the first game or anything like that. I believe that we're going to go out there and execute what we're trying to do offensively with both of those guys. Sure, there are small differences in them, but you know, whenever that comes about, we'll act on it and then move forward. But I haven't looked at the calendar and said we have to have something by this date or else. You know.
As you go into camp, what are some of the areas that you're most concerned about in terms of depth? I think wide receiver was a spot that we had looked at as maybe you need some more people there.
You know, wide receiver depth is the first one. We've got some young guys in the two deep that, in order for us to have a chance, it's kind of what we've talked about all along is, you know, I think we're going to have to find some depth across the board in order for us to give ourselves a chance to have the success we want to have. So, you know, wide receiver would be the first one that comes to mind. Defensive back would be the second one that comes to mind. And then the linebacker position is a little bit thin that some young guys are going to have to fill in there as well. So, we have adequate depth or personnel at most of the other spots on the defensive line. While there's some younger guys, I feel like they're maybe a little further along than some of the younger guys at other positions, and some adequate depth on the offensive line, hopefully.
You have a couple guys in particular, in Bucky Hodges and Sam Rogers, who are pretty versatile, can do a lot, understand a lot. When you go into the break from between spring and fall as a coaching staff, are you sort of toying with, hey, these guys might be able to do some more things, some different things? How much time do you spend kind of tinkering with maybe what they can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the first things we look at is, okay, let's evaluate what our skill level is at these spots. What can these guys do well? What should we not ask them to do? What are they capable of learning and repping on a consistent basis and being efficient with it? So, yes, to answer your question, we did do that, and those are two guys that I would put in that category as guys that you can move around a little bit. They have a good understanding of football that you have a chance to be a little more versatile with.
We ask you all the time about the quarterback depth chart, but there's other spots in the roster that you have to figure out as well. Do you have a timetable for trying to figure out a pecking order at places like running back, kind of considering that you like to play a lot of guys there?
Yeah, I would like to see some of those guys step forward and become dependable players for us. I feel like it's a little bit, the running back spot, there's a couple guys in there that have been hurt that I really don't know that much about in terms of I didn't see much in the spring because they just weren't full go. So I'm anxious to see those guys out there and try and figure out what guys are dependable players for us. The sooner the better in terms of figuring out your best 11 or who's your 12th guy that comes in or the 13th guy. Like, where are we in those terms? Is it a running back or is it a tight end or is it another wide receiver? To me, those are the questions that we've got to answer.
You guys moved Newsome to the secondary. Can you talk about the reasoning behind that?
Well, we just felt like he had a skill set that fit over there. He is a physical player. He's got a little bit of a defensive mentality. He can obviously run. We'll take a look at that. Henry Murphy is going to be eligible this year. So that wasn't the sole reason for switching him, but we've got some depth issues in the defensive backfield and at wide receiver, and we felt like we helped both of those with those two things coming out.
Given the depth concern at wide receiver, how much and how many of the backs that you have can kind of help mitigate that by catching the ball in space, catching it out of the backfield, and how much do they seem equipped to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what we'll have to find out. Like, I don't, when I look at some of those guys, I don't see them as the guys that are split out and playing wide receiver / running back. They just don't have those bodies. They're a little bit bigger guys. So I don't know. As we get into it, we'll try and make that determination. Right now, it'd be hard for me to say definitively that they are those types of players.
Going off the field a little bit, the other day the NCAA's legislation regarding retweets and likes of prospect social media accounts changed. What have you guys been able to do to take advantage of that, and do you see it as something that you can kind of leverage overall as a part of your recruiting strategy?
Well, I mean, we've certainly taken part in it. We're on top of it. We're monitoring it on a consistent basis. We've been pretty active in terms of taking part in that. I don't know what advantage it gives you. Everybody else is allowed to do it too, so I don't know. The long-term ramifications, I think, are yet to be seen, obviously. But we certainly took part in it.
You were very complimentary of Trayvon McMillan at ACC kickoff. And you said he had a good summer. What was it specifically that he did during the course of these off-season months here to sort of give you maybe a little bit better impression of what you saw in the spring?
I just think he looks like he's moving with more confidence. The times I've seen him moving around, his body looks better. Part of it maybe he's more healthy. I don't know, but he just seems to be more confident in what he's doing. I think is probably the biggest thing.
Anybody else for Coach? All right.
Thank you.
Coach. Coach Foster up next.
I don't know if I have to make an opening statement, but I'm excited to be here for year number 30. So.
Looks like you guys put on a lot of weight at defensive end this year. Maybe.
Oh, thanks. You thought you were talking about me there for a second. My God, I did have a good summer, but it wasn't that good.
You expect that's going to help you in the running game? Some of those younger defensive ends adding 10, 15 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'll say this: I thought our guys have had a dynamic summer with Coach Hilgert and his staff. You've had some guys like a Tim Settle trimmed up, but at the same time is still in that 326-pound range. You've got some guys, Woody Barron's had some bulk. Nigel is in that 300, but he's slimmed down a little bit. You get Sobchak, who's close to a 300-pounder. So yeah, I'm hoping that'll give us some strength and some power, at the point of attack, particularly inside. Obviously Ken's a bigger kid. He's trying to play at around 260. And then your other end position, right now, whoever that's going to be, right now Vinny Mahota's in there, but I really like some of the young guys, the Trayvon Hill, and anxious to see Seth Dooley get back. And those are all guys that are in that 250, 255, Vinny's 265 pounds, which is a little bit bigger than what we had last year with Daddy. So I'm hoping that'll be, make an impact on, our ability to stop the run up front, which was, for us last year was disappointing. But at the same time, there were a lot of factors that went into that. But I'm hoping up front experience and then having a little bit of size and athletic ability, too, to go along with it will help that.
You guys talked a lot in the spring about wanting to get guys in the secondary into one spot and let them develop. Are they all going to stay where they were in the spring, or is there any further shuffling?
I don't see any further shuffling right now. I think we're really settled in. I'm anxious to, get Brandon Faison back and get him back to full speed. And I'm sure he is at full speed, but getting him back out there and getting in sync with what we're doing. I like our corner spot right now, and I'm excited to see some of the younger guys, Khalil Ladler and the Rogers kid come in, and I'm anxious to see Tyree, what he can do, and then along at our safety spot, I really feel good about Chuck Clark, Darion Green, and then I thought the guy that had probably our best spring, and Terrell Edmonds. I'm really excited about the things that he can do, his ability to cover, his ability to make plays in space. And obviously we got to do it this fall. But I feel good about what we've done there and then how those guys fit in and understanding their position, the expectations of their positions. And I'm we've had a great summer, and I'm looking forward to, kicking this thing off. And hopefully we'll continue to grow and get better each and every week.
Preseason camp obviously is a time to kind of try to develop some of that depth at linebacker in particular. What do you like and what concerns you in terms of depth there?
That is a concern spot, at linebacker, to be honest with you. Obviously, at Mike, I have high expectations for Andrew Motuapuaka after, getting a first full year of starting under his belt. Experience is the best teacher, and I'm expecting him to take big strides. Behind him, we've got Sean Hulskamp back. So Sean started a couple games last year. I really trust Sean. He'll play for us. and do the right thing. And then after that, it's going to be kind of open. We do have a couple young guys that we're going to take a look at. Aaron Carter's a guy that is a freshman coming in that I've been impressed with his IQ and watching him move around, know how quickly he can pick things up. You have Trent Young, who is another walk-on kid that performed very, very well on special teams for us, that I trust as far as him getting us lined up and playing for us. Now, he has limited abilities, but at the same time, playing inside the box, he's a pretty good football player. My other spot of concern is the backer spot. I think if we can stay healthy, I think Tremaine Edmonds is a guy that has, unlimited potential for us. He reminds me of a bigger version of Xavier Deeby we had a couple years ago, and that's a credit to the kid because he's long, he's athletic, he's very versatile. He can be good as a blitzer, be good in the run game, can be good in the passing game. Being long and being in the throwing lane. So he gives you physically a lot of skills. Experience-wise, he's been in a game and a half as far as at linebacker, but he really, I thought, the last 2 weeks of practice in spring ball really improved, and obviously he's had a summer under his belt. But I'm going to push him hard and have high expectations. I am concerned about our depth there. You do have Jamion Moss, who's been primarily a special teams player for us. Jamion has a lot of abilities. I love what the kid's all about. He's just got to be consistent and a guy that will play for us and on a regular down basis. And it's time for him to take that next step. Then after that, basically, there's going to be a couple freshmen. You've got Tavante Beckett, from Indian River, and then you've got Emmanuel Bellmuller from Collins Hill in Georgia, who I've really been impressed with both of them picking up, along like with Aaron Carter, having a good football IQ, picking up the position. And, I'm anxious to see as we throw more things at them, what they're going to be, how they can pick that up. Early on with just our base stuff so they can go through some of our skills and drills, I've been really, really impressed with their ability to pick things up. And now, but we're not going to slow down for them. They're going to have to catch up with us. But I do like their potential. And that's going to be a big part early on, probably as our football team. And I don't know if Coach Fu talked about that, but evaluating our younger players and who can help us. It's just not necessarily defensively, even though that might be a part of it, but who can help us on special teams and that type of thing. So, but the linebacker position to me is, on our defensive side, is probably our biggest concern as far as quality of depth, of guys that I feel comfortable with right now.
Well, there was a lot of excitement when Justin was hired because fans here have been clamoring for an offensive guy for a long time. There was a big sigh of relief when you were retained because they kind of know what you do. Is there pressure on you, do you think, to continue to do what you do or to hit the ground running strong and all that stuff, since the offense is going to take some time to come along in all likelihood? Well, I don't know if there's pressure on me. We do what we do, and obviously we have high expectations. Last year was not, by our standards, were very poor. And we're going to get back to that. But I don't feel any pressure. I know when Coach and I first started talking, he told me you're not going to have to play perfect defense, anymore. And I said, well, you don't know me very well, from that standpoint. That's my expectations. And it's hard to play perfect, but we're looking for excellence. And that's what, we've been striving for since, Coach walked on campus here. And, just on the offensive side, on the defensive side, in the weight room, and anything, in all aspects of what we do, we're striving for excellence, which will carry over onto the field. And our kids understand the tradition we have here. And, there's a responsibility and accountability to uphold that tradition and that responsibility. And I like our seniors. Our seniors have all bought in. They're great leaders, and I think they're going to do a great job of leading this young group. But this young group that we're going to be counting on, some of the younger players, they understand the expectations here and what we have done here. And if we got to get back to that and
And I'm not concerned about the offense. They're going to be fine. They're going to, those guys are going to do some unique things, and we just got to take care of business our own, and hopefully that'll be enough.
You guys had to play a lot of man coverage last year. Do you feel more confident with more experience, guys staying in the same spot this year, of going back to more zone coverages like you played at times in the past?
Yeah, that's the one thing we wanted to get back to, was being a little bit more too high safety and get a little bit more eyes on the football, so to speak. But, at the same time, when we've been really good, we've been very versatile and multiple on the back end. I've always felt like over the years when we were at our best, we could not only give pressure a quarterback with front four pressure, we could pressure with blitz pressure, but then I felt like we were different than most people, was we could pressure you with coverage pressure. And I'm hoping we can get back to that. I really feel good about Galen Scott and Brian Mitchell. Those guys have both been coordinators. They both have great experience. They both prepared in different ways, and are going to bring some things that that maybe I've liked to do in the past, and some things that they've done in the past, and I'm excited about being able to be very multiple again back there. I think when we can set in one high safety look or do whatever, obviously we can play man coverage and we can challenge a quarterback, but it also, I think offenses can design some plays in ways to attack you that, can stress us defensively. And I want to be able to make it hard on them by pre-snap and that type of thing, that we can't give certain things away. And that's always been one of our strengths in the past, and that's what we're working towards to be, one of our strengths this season and in the future.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Is that it? Thank you, guys.
How's everybody doing? Go ahead and open it up.
Raise your hands and get some microphones. Questions start up front with Mike.
Coach, could you take us through how a quarterback competition works? I mean, what things are you looking for? What do you judge, take notes on? Do you give the guys updates on where they stand, or just let them kind of play it out?
That's a good question. It's a little bit of everything. You have to take into account what else is going on out there. You can't. It's not just a statistical battle of completions or interceptions. It's what else is going on. It's what kind of situations those guys are in. But it's the entire thing. It's we'll split those guys reps, and as we need to change reps, and when we do communicate with those guys, they'll know exactly where they stand. And I'm not worried. The two older guys, they're both team first guys, and they know whatever role they might have to play is going to be a big role either way. So.
I was asking Coach about the perceived lack of depth at wide receiver. What do you see there? And in the offense you guys run, how many receivers do you need to be kind of game ready?
Well, you need more than one unit, and that's where we're at. And we've got some good young talent that is getting better every day. But that'll be a huge point of emphasis this camp, and something we've got to really develop. And in order to push the tempo, in order to keep those guys fresh throughout a season, you need more than a few guys. And there's some guys there that can add some depth to that, no question about it. Oh, if you could go into the season with 6 or 8, that's ideal. I mean, we've certainly made it with less, and we've played games and played up tempo with less than that. But you take as many as you can get, but certainly I think 6 would be a fantastic number to get to.
Looking at some of the offenses you guys have run in the past, it looks like the running backs kind of split the carries among them. How many would you like to play? How many would you like to have ready to play by the start of the season?
Well, Sam Rogers is such a unique player, and his role is going to be so diverse as a tailback, fullback, guy that we can split out. that it's hard to really put a number on that, but absolutely it's the same way. Those guys take a beating. It's a physical position to play. They're asked to block an awful lot. We love to use the receivers to carry the ball in jet sweeps, and when you do that, the tailback becomes the lead blocker in those situations. So it's hard to put a number on exact. We've never gone into a season necessarily or a game saying this many carries for this guy and this guy. There's always certain players that you definitely want to make sure you get the ball in their hands in certain situations, and you'll have plays scripted within the game or sections in your game plan that those guys are going to get to touch the ball. But specific numbers, I don't know that we've ever gone into it that way.
Coach, how beneficial is it to have such an experienced offensive line when you're installing a brand new offense?
Well, it's huge. I mean, it all starts up there, and you got older guys, you got tough guys, probably our deepest position coming into it. So it's been nice. It's things can get really ugly when you're not very good up front, and if you're not very deep and you get a guy hurt, it doesn't really matter what else you have. It can get bad quickly on you. So certainly the way those guys worked when we first got here, the summer they've had, spring ball, there's no question we still need improvement there. We need to create some more depth there, but really like the way those guys are coming along.
Besides Sam, who's obviously proven his ability to catch the ball, how do you feel about the other receivers, their ability to catch the ball, and how much can that maybe help mitigate the lack of depth at wide receiver?
There's a couple of guys I think that can help us out on the perimeter, from that tailback spot. We've had guys in the past that had started at receiver and eventually became tailbacks. I don't think we have anybody like that necessarily in this group, but certainly have some speed, some guys with some talent that can help. Certainly Sam being probably the most experienced of those guys, but I think there could be a couple other guys that could do some similar things for us.
Going back to the quarterback competition, and I don't know how many like this you've run before, but what does putting guys through something like this do to their confidence when you do finally name a winner? Does it boost their leadership kind of either in the eyes of the team or just in themselves, knowing that they kind of went through the gauntlet and then came out the guy that you guys named?
I think it can, yeah, certainly. Especially when it's two quality guys that both have played at a high level wherever that has been, but it can certainly boost a guy's confidence going through a competition like that and finally being named the starter. But it's a long season. We've talked from the day we've gotten here and into spring ball about it's a competition every day, and you can't get down, you can't get too high. You got to balance. Even if you're not playing, you got to be ready to go. And so it gets magnified at the quarterback position, but it's part of the game. It's part of sports. And if those guys weren't wired to handle that kind of competition, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be in the position that they're in.
You mentioned Sam Rogers, and Bucky Hodges is another guy that you can move around. After you go through a spring with them, do you kind of go into your off season starting to come up with, mad scientists, new ideas of, hey, maybe we can try this, do this, and is that fun for a coach? Oh, absolutely. And those are two guys that I'm not sure we've had guys exactly like that. We've had some hybrid type guys before, but I think those two guys are even unique in that sense. But yeah, it's fun, and they're. What's the beauty of it is they're two guys that have played at a high level, and they're consistent. And you want them on the field, and you want to do as much as you can. And it does create some problems for a defense, knowing exactly what kind of set you're going to be in, what type of look you're going to be in. So it's going to be fun moving those guys around and finding ways to use them and take advantage of some looks.
Chuck, how was this offseason different from your offseason in the past? Justin came up and talked about Ben Hilgert, what a great job he did. Do you feel any different starting this season than you did in past seasons?
I feel a lot different, especially in the running aspect of the conditioning. I feel like we got a lot more conditioning in this summer. We did a lot of more running drills just to focus on how everything will be up pace and up tempo. The game is changing, so for offense to be able to play at that level and for a defense to be able to play against an offense at that level.
Does it seem like as big a transition for you guys since Bud is still your coach?
On defense, not as much. I feel like everything's just about the same, but I'm not too sure about the offense. But on defense, everything feels the same.
Coach Foster mentioned how you guys are planning on or hoping to play a little bit more zone this season. How does that benefit you guys being able to be versatile in the kind of looks you give offenses?
As a defensive player, it just allows more eyes to be on the ball as opposed to playing man. Like when you're in man situations, a lot of times you probably can't see the ball until the last minute when you have to turn around. So just having more eyes on the ball and breaking to the ball, so hopefully more turnovers.
With the way that you guys finished up last season, was there sort of a wounded pride to this defense? Is there any extra motivation from how sort of the total numbers finished up last year?
Our goal, we all met as a defense last week, and our goal this year is to be a top defense in the nation, number one in everything. So we definitely have a sense of pride that we got to get back to and playing traditional defense around here.
After all the anticipation of a new coach, just how exciting is it to be that much closer to the season now that we enter fall camp here in a couple days?
It's very exciting, you know. All the hard work over the summertime, it's over, you know. It's time to go play football again. I mean, we had a great summer working, but, I mean, anybody can work hard across the country. It's time to go play football now and see who can play.
Chuck, what's the difference from going from Torian Gray coaching you to Galen Scott and Brian Mitchell?
It's two different coaches, you know. One's a little more intense in your face, you know. One's intense as well, but I mean it's two different levels of intensity, you know. Two very different guys, but I like both of their approaches to coaching. So two very good coaches.
guys doing? They're definitely pretty taxing. I just know with my lifting group, we lift at 2:15, and we don't usually get done until around 4. And then on Tuesday, Thursdays, we have player-led walkthroughs. So we get done about 4. The player-led walkthroughs start at 4:30. So I mean, we're just out there doing stuff for a long period of time. On Tuesday, Thursdays, we're working out for 3+ hours. So it's definitely it's about as similar to a game as you can get it, because I mean we're doing workouts, so we're tired from that, and then go out and have to perform football-wise. It definitely adds an aspect of having to stay mentally sharp and perfect as when it comes to playing football, being able to perform when you're tired. So I feel like this year we've been trying to simulate practice in games a lot more when it comes just from a mental standpoint.
Augie, what's the real schematic difference from Coach Searles now to Coach Weiss for y'all?
To be honest, there isn't a whole lot of a difference between what the offensive line's doing. A lot of the changes are in the backfield. Obviously, there's going to be new terminology and stuff when you have a new offensive line coach coming in. But once you pick up on that, a lot of the stuff we're doing is really similar. So all the changes and stuff are in the backfield. A lot of what we're doing is pretty similar. So it wasn't that big of a transition for our position group.
There's obviously a lot of anticipation among the fan base for Justin's offensive reputation. Going through drills and seeing plays put in and stuff like that, how many times is that like, wow, that's pretty cool? And you know, for you guys that are on the field and just to see kind of some of the wrinkles they put in, and what's your anticipation like for that?
I'm actually really looking forward to it. I mean, like you said, it's happened a lot this summer, or during the spring, just kind of putting in plays and stuff. Being like, oh wow, that's cool, because not like a lot of times when Coach Weiss explains what we're doing, we don't have like, we know what's going on in the backfield, but we don't know all the different reads and stuff that's going through the quarterback's mind and the wide receivers and stuff like that. So once you start to see how the plays are working and all the different reads and all the different options that come out of every play, it's like, oh wow, our offense is getting pretty dynamic. And so I feel like with the Coach Fuente's offense, there's never just one single play that we're running. There's always 2 or 3 different reads that come out of it. So the defense has to defend more than just one thing. There's always a lot of different components that go on during the play.
That being said, how far do you think you guys came in learning everything spring and summer-wise, and how far do you think you guys still need to go before you have a better grasp of what you need to do before the season begins?
Obviously, spring ball was a good stepping stone when it came to learning the offense and stuff. I feel like everybody we set the foundation for what everybody needs to work on during the summer and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely think going into summer, we still have some more work to do, but I think, or going into summer camp, we still have some more work to do, but I think our workouts this summer definitely helped a lot when it came to knowledge of the offense and knowing the plays and stuff like that, just with the walkthroughs and stuff that we did. I think those were really helpful. I think that was time well spent. Everybody had a good attitude. Everybody was really focused. There was no messing around or anything like that during the walkthroughs. Everybody was trying to get in as much work as possible. So I definitely think we have more work to do during fall camp, but I definitely think we're on the right path.
This is about as experienced of an offensive line as you guys have had, probably 5 years. If you kind of anticipated this moment for a while to have some upperclassmen, you being one of them, and some experience up front?
I wouldn't say I've necessarily anticipated. I mean, it's always tough to judge when people come in, like who's going to still be there when your final year comes around, who's still going to be contributing, and then also with injuries and stuff, who's going to be healthy, who's not. But I definitely think that this has definitely been the most experience on the offensive line that we've had since I've been playing. So I'm really looking forward to playing with the guys, getting to I guess, getting a feel for each other, not necessarily off the field, but when it comes to playing style and stuff like that. Like, I played next to Wade last year, and so it'll be interesting during camp just to play next to Parker, see what his strengths, what his weaknesses are, what things he needs me to help him out with, things that he needs to help me out with. So, I mean, it'll be fun. I think John and Wyatt have a pretty good understanding of what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, because they played with each other all last year. And I'm familiar with Gallo. Gallo's done a really good job. He's really good when it comes to calls and stuff like that, making sure everybody's on the same page. So I think it'll definitely be an interesting fall. But I definitely think it'll be fun, and we got a good group of guys that know what they're doing, know what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. So I think people are going to do it the right way, and I think we're going to be successful up front just because everybody, I feel like, will be a more cohesive unit than we have been years prior.
Osterloh and Nijman are some of the guys on that line that don't have as much experience as maybe the other guys do. How have you seen Osterloh and Nijman improve this spring, and what are you hoping to see out of them in the fall practice?
Well, I mean, both of them have taken reps during the fall last year, so it's not like they're coming off with clean slates. Both of them have a significant amount of playing time, but obviously the more playing time you have, the better. But, I mean, Parker did really well during the spring. He definitely stepped up his level of play. I mean, obviously there's always room for improvement from everybody, but he did a really good job. Pretty happy with where he is, and also going into camp, he had a really good summer. And then Yash, he's been battling through some injuries and stuff, but he's getting healthier. So, and once he gets healthy, he'll definitely contribute this year. So, I mean, it'll also provide a little bit more depth for us. So, I'm really looking forward to how those two do this year. I think they'll do really well.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, guys.
You cut your hair?
Yeah, before summer one, I kind of was already thinking about it in the spring, and I started telling people in the locker room that I was going to cut it by summer one, so I kind of had to keep my word, and I was ready for a change anyway, so yeah, I cut it before summer one.
So you feel faster because of that?
I do. I think it was like 2 pounds almost. Nah, it wasn't 2 pounds, but it was pretty heavy.
On a serious note, how do you kind of enter this second season as a full-time starter? Do you feel a lot more comfortable in this position this year?
Yeah, I definitely feel a lot comfortable with the playbook and just the guys around me, taking leadership and stuff like that. And I feel in better shape than I was going into last season this year. So, yeah, feeling pretty good, pretty excited. Ready for a fun year.
Coach has mentioned how you guys are hoping to play a little more zone on defense this year. How do you think that helps you as a Mike linebacker?
Well, I like it because I get to drop back in coverage and potentially get some interceptions and stuff like that. But it also takes, like, pressure off the secondary that they don't have to, be perfect every single play. So I think it'll be good for us. I think we'll catch a lot of interceptions this year because of that, and yeah, set up good coverage, good rush, and vice versa. So.
When you look around at your full unit at linebacker, it's one of the spots where depth has been a concern. And I guess Coach Fuente was talking about receivers and defensive backs, and he mentioned linebackers. How much do you think there's been a progression heading into camp overall in your unit?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
How much progression do you think you guys have made toward developing some depth heading into camp, and do you feel like there's some guys that need to really ramp it up here?
I think from the spring, a lot of us as a unit really took a step forward, and going into this summer, like having our 7-on-7s, and we call it skills and drills, where we do like individual stuff like that, and so I think we all took just steps forward. Really, I'm excited to see Tremaine play next to him. So, yeah.
How has practicing against such an up-tempo offense helped you guys on the defense?
Well, that's kind of what Coach Foster preaches, really, is playing fast. So, if anything, it just helps us prepare for the whole season. We're going to go against fast offenses like UNC, and so it just prepares us really for what we're going to see in the season.
Appreciate that, man.
Similar question I asked Andrew about depth at linebacker. It's probably one of the bigger concerns, depth at your position. How much do you think people have progressed in the offseason, and is that something where you think heading into camp now there's a few guys that really need to kind of ramp it up a little bit?
Yes, over the summer workouts, I really think that guys progressed not only physically with Coach Hilgard, but also mentally, getting in the playbook a lot. Me and Isaiah trying to help the younger guys, bring them along with the new system. So I think everyone has made strides.
Obviously, you guys were getting used to new quarterbacks in the spring. Do you feel like that relationship on the field got steadily better over the summer as guys got used to each other more and more?
Definitely. I definitely think that, the camaraderie between the wideouts and the quarterbacks, and also everyone amongst the team has gotten a lot better, knowing where, the quarterbacks want us on any given play, how they want to throw the ball. So all of that goes into, getting ready for the season. So our chemistry is great on the field.
How have you seen a guy like Devin Wilson adjust from, basically being a basketball player and getting through the whole offseason program and trying to get adjusted for football, and how do you think he's done that so far this offseason?
I think when coming from a sport like basketball to football, not to downplay the physicality of basketball, but it's definitely different from basketball to football in terms of physicality, and the guys, are supposed to hit you and run into you. So, just him kind of growing more comfortable, knowing that he's going to get hit as well as hit other people. I think he has progressed a lot since he stepped on the field.
And how much grief have you guys been giving him as he's making that transition?
We all joke around. Him running routes is different, sometimes unorthodox, but he's getting better at it.
So there's a lot of talk about depth at wide receiver. There was a lot of talk last year about how many plays you guys played. What's the actual difference, not the macho standing at the microphone difference, between playing 75 plays in a game and playing 35 plays in a game? What's the difference for you when you're playing 35 instead of playing 75?
You just said it, 40 plays. With the system like we have in place now, you can't
have just 2 or 3 or a few guys playing 75 plays like that. But saying that, I think it definitely keeps us fresh. We don't have to sort of take plays off, if you will, because we know we have to play a whole game, but we're able to go out and, give everything we have with every opportunity that we get.
You and Isaiah are probably one of the better wide receiver duos in the ACC. How do you guys and your skill sets complement each other on the field?
Our skill sets, how they complement each other. I think, something I would say that helps us is not only our confidence in ourselves, but the confidence that we have in each other. So, if we miss an assignment or we see something out there, then we do a great job of communicating, telling each other what the other cornerback or other safety or some other player on the team is doing. And I just think as we played together and grown together, our relationship has gotten stronger. So I think that helps us a lot.
I know a lot of receivers might set goals for completions or receptions or yards or things like that. Are you somebody who does that, or if you don't, what kind of expectations do you have for yourself this year?
I am my own biggest critic. I always want to improve on previous play, the previous game, previous season. So, just going out and, helping my team win, if that's catching a record number of passes or blocking on an option play or something like that, then, I want to do that.